So this year marks Grand Theft Auto 3 turning 20 years old. So I thought it would be a good time to take a look back at one of my favorite childhood games and see how the game holds up after 2 decades. It was 2001 and the PS2 had been out for a year. 2001 would be a game-changing year for, gaming, especially with the release of the GameCube and Xbox. That year would really show off what the PS2 was capable of. Like, look at some of these classic PS2 games released that year. They weren't playing around. Among those games was, of course, GTA 3, a very ambitious game for its time, and especially ambitious for Rockstar. This will be the first GTA to go from 2D to 3D, something Rockstar had been wanting to do since GTA 2. The PS2 would allow them to make this a reality. Rockstar said that the PS2's use of DVDs made storing more data easier, but at the same time very limiting, because of the console's 32MB RAM. There were even plans to release this game on the Dreamcast, but for whatever reason, it was cancelled. Probably due to the Dreamcast ceasing production earlier, or maybe the fact that the Dreamcast used CDs instead of DVD made things too complicated or whatever. But right before GTA 3 was released, a certain event happened. Because of what happened, they had to delay the game for a few weeks from its original October 3rd release so they could remove and alter things, such as changing the colors of the cop cars, altering the flight patterns of planes, removing lines of dialogue, radio ads, and missions that reference or involve terrorism, and changing the US box cover to the iconic one we still use to this day. The latter being something that was made overnight from what I've read, but that wasn't what Rockstar were originally going to do. 9/11 made them so depressed, they were considering shelving the game altogether, due to Rockstar thinking it was not appropriate to release a game where you can cause mass destruction right after that event. But they decided to just make the changes I listed above. But when it did finally come out, it was a massive hit and sold extremely well. It received so much praise, it became one of the reasons to own a PS2, also because of the DVD player. As of today, it sold over 14 million copies. GTA 3 would eventually get ports to PC, Xbox, and a shitty mobile port 10 years later. GTA 3 put Rockstar on the map and changed gaming forever. Without GTA 3's success, the open world genre would be a lot different. We might not have even gotten any of these fantastic games. I myself have a lot of good memories with GTA 3. It was my first GTA, and is what got me into the series. The earliest memory I can recall was seeing a cardboard cutout display near a game store in the mall in early 2002. Though it wouldn't be till 2007 where I would finally get to play the game, and it was my first step into adult entertainment. To a kid, being allowed to play an M-rated game makes you feel hardcore. I can only imagine how people playing it back in 2001 felt. If anyone who was young and played this game when it was released, feel free to tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your experience. With how well praised this game was, how well it sold, and how it led the way to GTA eventually becoming a multi-billion-dollar game franchise, how does it hold up after 2 decades? Well, not that well. But wait, hang on. Let's take an honest and fair look. The game is set in Liberty City and consists of 3 islands: Portland, Staunton Island, and Shoreside Vale. Liberty City is a parody of New York, but with a mix of New Jersey, Chicago, and Philadelphia. For a 2001 game, it's not the best looking, even for its time, especially compared to Metal Gear Solid 2 or Jak and Daxter. Character models look like my grandmother, and the motion capture for the cutscenes look funny and overly expressive. But on the plus side, Liberty City itself is very impressive. It's very atmospheric, dirty, and feels really alive with all the pedestrians walking and driving around. It even sounds atmospheric. Just listen. Plus, the way it's able to transition from day to night is so flawless. Now who better to explore Liberty City and see what it has to offer than with our main character, Claude. Claude, unlike the other GTA protagonists, is a mute. This was done because it wasn't really a big priority to Rockstar during development, not to mention they wanted you to form your own opinion of him. That's a pretty ingenious idea, I gotta say. It really helps with the role-playing aspect, and it makes the cutscenes really funny. where Claude just stands there while the mission giver speaks. Like, it's just funny to watch. Claude may not be able to speak, but he does have a personality, and he's the most cold-blooded out of the GTA protagonists. He will literally do any sick deed as long as he gets paid. And when I say any sick deed, I mean anything. Just to show you how morally deprived this man is, there are secret payphone missions from this guy Marty Chunks, an owner of a dog food factory. We bring him people that he kills and turns into dog food. I'm not kidding. Claude's also quite a savage too. He'll flip anyone off during gameplay, and there's also another moment I want to bring up later. You know, silent, cold, it shows no emotion. There's a sense of familiarity to Claude. Where have I— oh my god! Because it's an open world game, Claude can pretty much do whatever he wants, except swim. You could go around beating people up and throw them leg kicks like a champ. You could gun people and gang members down, do drive-bys, have sex with prostitutes that give you a temporary boost in health, and kill them immediately afterwards to get a tiny bit of money back. Now, where did the rest of your money go?
One of nature's mysteries!
But of course, like the name of the game suggests, there are cars to drive. There are sports cars, vans, trucks, boats, fire trucks to go spray. There's even a tank. And in the old GTAs, they're OP as fuck, because simply touching a car with a tank will cause the car to explode. There's even a plane that is almost impossible to fly. People originally thought that the plane was made so complicated due to a certain tragedy at the time, but believe it or not, that's not actually true. According to a document uncovered by GTA series videos, the plane was always broken. You can also ride trains that are good for fast traveling between the 3 islands, but honestly, it's more of a novelty. But I like how it makes the game world feel more alive. I do want to point out that every time you travel between the 3 islands, it always has to load. Not the biggest deal, because it loads pretty quickly, unless you're chasing someone in a boat and you're constantly moving back and forth between the island's water, in which case it's just annoying. But the best thing about vehicles is you can listen to in-game music, and all the radios are hosted by real-life radio DJs. A lot of it's underground rap, unknown stuff, opera, talk shows, and also the Scarface soundtrack. It's all some pretty good stuff. But a couple of the stations are full of songs made just for this game. I wish they would have continued to do this past this game because the songs they made for the game are really good. They sound like songs you would hear in real life. Here, just have a listen.
To the right stuff, to the music, to my video. It's gone forever. Tomorrow will never be here, so it feels that's what she looks like every day.
Something even better, if you're on PC, you could play your own music. Now that's awesome. However, the takeaway for vehicles, they are pretty much made of paper. They cannot take a beating, and it does not take many bullets to destroy a car, especially with the M4 or shotgun. Now all this freedom you get, some of it doesn't come free. The more carnage you commit, the more law enforcement you'll eventually attract, indicated by the stars above, like the SWAT team, the FBI, even the fucking military. The cops in this game are nothing to joke about. They're complete, utter psychopaths and will do everything in their power to arrest or kill you. Mostly the latter, which includes ramming into you at top speed and committing suicide by ramming you and themselves into the water. Well, if that doesn't prove how psychotic they are, just listen to the helicopter pilot dialogue.
You're dead, big boy! We're definitely gonna kill you! You can't say that, it's not in the book! Prepare to die!
If they arrest you instead, you'll spawn at the police station where they let you go with only a $100 fine, and they take your weapons. The same thing happens if you get killed, except you wake up at the hospital. I never understood why the hospital takes your weapons. Feel free to answer that mystery. Luckily, getting rid of the cops is pretty easy, or hard depending on your situation. All you need to do is find one of these bribes that remove 1 star, or use the paint spray. The funny thing about the latter, that this works even if the cops see you use it. Yep, the cops can go from being dedicated psychos to
I'm retarded?
in a matter of seconds. But there is more this game has to offer besides all that. There's a decent amount of side activities to do, like rampages, cab rides, firefighter missions that reward you with immunity to fire, RC car missions, I'm not kidding, vigilante missions with cop cars. There are also hidden collectibles around the city called, hidden packages. The more you find, the more weapons show up at your safe houses. Figuring out how to get some of these requires some real thinking. Like this roof right here. For the longest time, I could never figure out how to get up there. But here's how it's supposed to be done. Now let's discuss the controls. Moving Claude isn't too bad actually, but it feels like you're using the D-pad to move him. Ironically, you can use the D-pad to move if you want, but something that does suck is the camera. You can only move it in first person and when you're standing still, and it's also inverted. If there's something you gotta know about me, I hate inverted aiming or camera controls. Claude's combat is functionable. You can easily fight several people at once and probably win. Or not, but melee could be even easier if you use the bat, but you can only attack with it while standing in place. The system isn't as refined as later entries, but it gets the job done, I guess. As for gun combat, it's also simplistic. You get a lock-on mechanic that works with most of the weapons, and can switch targets using L2 and R2. While the shooting and lock-on is fine, I do have an issue with it. You can only move while shooting the pistol or Uzi, but the rest of the weapons you have to stand in place to use, which could be a real pain in the ass, because it can sometimes be easy to get overwhelmed and get killed. Also, while you can move with the pistol and Uzi, there's still some drawback to it. When you want to aim and distance yourself, you turn around instead of being able to face your target and back up. What I feel should have been done was give us free aim and strafing. Similar to how the PC version or Max Payne did it, it would have made things a lot easier and a lot more fun. There are 3 weapons that you can only aim in first person: the rocket launcher, sniper rifle, and M4. All the first 2 are fine. The M4 has a recoil issue, or the aim reticle will jitter around like you're fighting off a seizure. You're better off just firing it without using aiming. It sucks because it's one of the strongest weapons in the game and shoots fast as hell. I mean, look at that. There are also thrown items such as Molotovs and grenades, and using them sucks. There's no precision with them, and you have to manually aim your body to aim where you want to throw a projectile. How far you throw depends on how soft or hard you press the throw button. Because of this, I only use grenades when I need to, or when a target or vehicle is standing still. And I almost never use the Molotovs, because I'm afraid of accidentally dropping one next to me and getting caught in a blast radius. Driving is they're not awful, but they feel kinda clunky and a bit slidey. But the thing that sucks about driving is that when your vehicle catches fire, you can't bail out. You have to come to a complete stop to exit. Sometimes that could get you killed. Plus, vehicles can be flipped over easily, and when they flip over, they immediately catch on fire and explode. But the worst out of the vehicle controls has to be the boat controls. Piloting boats is horrible. It feels slow, extremely stiff, and getting it to stop feels terribly delayed, and just plain terrible. Since we're talking about traveling around the map is something that might be a pain to new players. Why? Well, there's no in-game map, just a mini-map. So figuring out where you're at and where you're going can be a bit annoying. But last but not least, we get story missions, and you do a lot of varied things, like driving someone's prostitute to their destination, murdering a guy in a body cast, and fighting suicide bombers high on spank. Did I mention this game was released a month after 9/11? The difficulty from the missions range from being real easy to being your worst nightmare. Now your reward for beating a mission is money, and this little jingle. You get paid a pretty good amount for your missions, like just look at this. Now, there's not really much you can do with the money in the game, except buy guns from gun stores, and like 2 missions where you're required to have a certain amount to start the mission. I wish the game gave you more to do with the money you earn. Luckily, they do improve upon this in Vice City, to mixed results in my opinion. But there is one fatal flaw with the missions: there are no checkpoints, like none. So if you fuck up and fail, you have to
do it all over again.
And having to do an entire mission all over can be really miserable, especially if the enemy was in your sight or you died and you didn't save. So do yourself a favor and go into every mission with full health and armor. Also save after every mission. Speaking of the story, it's pretty simplistic, like the rest of the game. Our main character robs a bank with his girlfriend, but our boy here gets betrayed, gets a bullet in his, throat. Yeah, honestly, it's not really clear where she shot him at, and is left for dead. I can only imagine what Claude's thinking at this moment. He gets arrested and gets transported in a convoy across the bridge, until some gang members stop the convoy to break some old man out. This gives you an opportunity to escape, along with the man, the boy, 8-Ball. A small detail I like is that the opening explains why the police aren't on the constant lookout for you, or tracking you down.
Penitentiary. The attack took place on the Callahan Bridge, leaving few witnesses and the bridge itself severely damaged. Some of the convicts are thought to have perished in the explosion that followed the initial attack. Revelations as to the professionalism of the attack struck police hours afterward, when identification of the missing felons were further hampered by an attack by computer hackers on...
They didn't have to address that, but it's cool that they did. The bridge explodes, and now you get to drive for the first time. This opening is just so iconic, and it really sets the mood. Especially this line from 8-Ball.
No place on the edge of the red light district where we can lay low, but my hands are all messed up, so you better drive, brother.
And hearing the song Striped Summer. It just brings back so many memories. 8-Ball gets you some work with Ralph Cifaretto, and from there you start working your way up, like getting to work for the boss's son, the protagonist of the prequel to this game, and finally the boss himself, Salvatore Leone, played by the late Frank Vincent. Rest in peace, King. So you find out Catalina is now selling a drug on the street called Spank. It's basically a parody of crack, so you blow up a ship where it's being made, with help from the man, the boy, 8-Ball. After that, you go and pick up a car for Salvatore, but through a message from his wife Maria, someone you drive in Salvatore's first mission, that Salvatore has set you up. Now, why did Salvatore betray you?
Listen, Salvatore thinks that we're going behind his back, so he was offering you to the cartel in order to make a deal. I couldn't let him do that. I mean, the worst thing is, it's all my fault because I told him we were an item.
Now, why would she say something like this?
Don't ask me why, I don't know.
This bitch decided to make some stupid shit, ruined his chances at becoming a full member of the Mafia, and basically got a price put on Claude's head, all because...
I don't know.
You ruined everything, you stupid bitch.
Maria is one of the worst GTA characters, and is nothing but a problem-causing idiot. I can't stand her, and you won't either, especially if you play Liberty City Stories. I'll say this, she did one good thing. She helps you escape with her friend Asuka, a member of the Yakuza gang. Like, gonna be real for a sec? Asuka, though. I don't care if the graphics are hideous. Asuka is sexy, seductive, and hot as fuck. Even as an asexual, she really makes me feel something. You know, I'll be right back.
Time out!
Okay, sorry. You kill Salvatore. Oh, and just a little tip, make sure you do all the payphone missions and collect all the hidden packages in Portland before you do this mission, because otherwise, St. Mark's will now be a nightmare to explore, as all the Leones will now be carrying shotguns. You continue to do work for Asuka, even getting work from her brother Kenji. But why would you ever want to do his missions? He's a dick.
like they were selling hot dogs.
You do some work for a bent cop, a businessman cannibal. I'm not kidding about that last part. With him, you eventually pretend to be a cartel member to kill Kenji, to start some gang war between the Yakuzas and the cartel. You eventually run into Catalina again, but she escapes, and my wife shows up who is out for blood for her brother's murder, not knowing that Claude killed him. So you do more missions for Asuka, and after blowing up a plane full of drugs, one of the hardest missions of the game by the way, you come back to find Asuka dead, with a ransom note from Catalina to bring $500,000 to Shoreside Vale. So you bring her the money and get betrayed again. But this time her boy's not playing around. You follow her to a dam, fight some goons, save Maria, and blow Catalina out of the sky. All within a time limit. Remember when I mentioned that one thing that makes Claude a savage? Well, here's what I meant. He basically paid a $500,000 ransom, not only so he could kill Catalina, but also so he could shoot Maria himself. Like, that's straight up gangster right there. I mean, it's not shown, but it is implied that's what happened, because as soon as Claude fires a gun, she stops talking.
Talking now, and my hair is ruined. I mean, can you believe it? This one cost me $50.
When asked about Maria's fate, Rockstar had this to say. We're not sure about this. Some think he did, some think he didn't. Certainly in an original version of the script, Maria had a longer, really annoying speech. but then someone in the audio department wisely put an end to that. Quite what that means for Maria, who can say? So in other words, interpret this ending how you want. At the end, GTA 3 is a playable game, but it's not the best. It's not something you need to drop everything to go play. It's very dated, and has aged as much as Butch Hartman's reputation. But I am incredibly grateful and glad that GTA 3 exists. This game walked so all other GTA and open world games could fly. With all this said, I can't wait to play the definitive trilogy. I mean, it's been 20 years, and we've come so far in gaming. Think of all the ways they could improve GTA 3 now. Like, look at how games like Destroy All Humans look and feel with modern graphics. I mean, how could they mess this up?